Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today I am privileged to be joined by Rabbi Shulam Hersh Adler, former Senior Kashrus Administrator at the COR, and today the Senior Kashrus Administrator at Earth Kosher. Rabbi Adler, it's a pleasure for you to be here. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And I'm excited to talk to you about a topic that's relevant to many people, and many people wonder about, and that is vegan products. Now, people hear vegan. I'm sure you hear this all the time as a long-time Rav Machshir. Vegan, what could be wrong? It's plant-based. There's no animal concerns. You know, does it really need hashgacha? And I'm sure you get these types of comments. So talk about not so much restaurants today, but we're talking about more about certifying products that you could buy in a supermarket. What kashrus complications do arise when certifying such products?
Okay, so first I want to explain that vegan doesn't mean kosher and kosher doesn't mean vegan, and I'll explain why. Non-kosher grape juice is vegan, but it's not kosher. So it's vegan. That doesn't mean that it's kosher. Now let's talk about kosher. You can have something that's kosher, but it's not going to be vegan. It's a little bit of a long explanation. For example, sugar. Sugar has to be refined. Now, for it to be refined, the last step of the refining has to go through a filtering system. Now, I've been to many refineries in Canada, USA, and across the world, and there are some refineries still that the last filtering is done with charcoal, but it's basically bone char. It's bones of animals, right? Kosher species, perhaps, but it's in a Weiland Treife. And it's made into charcoal. It's basically burnt. So it's not an isser because it's charcoal already. You're allowed to have an oil from it, and it's charcoal. So that's that's an excellent filter. So the sugar is melted, is liquefied, and it goes through the charcoal, and it gets filtered amazingly. So it's kosher, but a vegan won't touch it because it touched bone char. So vegan doesn't have to be kosher, and kosher doesn't have to be vegan.
I'm curious, why would any company use a charcoal of that sort? Is there a benefit to it?
It's cheaper, most probably, and the reason why is you can take that once. So what happens is when you filter anything to charcoal, so the impurities get absorbed into the charcoal.
Right.
So now the charcoal gets full, but so what you could do is you don't have to throw it out. You take this charcoal, you put it into a kiln, and you burn it. So you burn the impurities, and you can use the charcoal again. Modern day you have resin beads with negative charged ions, which that also attracts the impurities. But so that's vegan already. But the ones that use charcoal, the vegans, and they know which brands you have bone char, so they don't eat it. They know that. So the first klal is vegan doesn't mean kosher, and kosher doesn't mean vegan. That's number one.
Got it.
Number two, it's again supplements a lot. So people have herbal supplements. And herbal supplement, what could be wrong with an herb, right? It grows in the ground, it gets dried, it gets milled, it gets put into a capsule, and then you swallow it. It's a veggie cap. What's the big deal? Right. So first of all, the veggie cap, you have to have hashgacha on the veggie cap. Just because it's a veggie cap doesn't mean that it was made on the same kalim as a gelatin capsule. Yeah, it is a different application a little bit, but you never know. So it has to have a good hashgacha. That's number one. Number two, the actual herbal, whatever it is, it's a herb that grows, right? So you can have a powder. You can also have a powder extract. So powder means that if you took the herb and you dried it and you milled it, you made it into a powder, it really is no problem. But if you have an extract means you took that herb and you soaked it in a solution, usually it's water or hot water, and it absorbs, it takes out all the essence of the actual herb. Now you're left with a liquid. Now how does it get into it? It becomes a powder, obviously, because it goes into a capsule. So you have to put it through a spray dryer, which works that you put in the liquid through a nozzle on top, and it goes like a mist, and there's heat, and the heat it makes the liquid evaporate, and the solids drop to the ground. So then you have, again, herbal extract. Now, spray dryer can be shared. It can be used for chazer, it can be used for beef, chicken. That's why you have chicken powder. How do you have chicken powder? It's not that you dry a chicken and you grind it. It's you take chicken, you emulsify it, you make it into a liquid, then you put it through a spray dryer, and the liquids evaporate, and you're left with solids. So it can be used the same equipment. So sometimes you can have an herbal extract that was made on treif kalim if we don't know, so that can be an issue.
Now, are there fewer complications when it comes to vegetarian products? Does it, as a mashgiach, does it help that something is vegetarian? Does it?
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
Because it eliminates certain concerns.
Yes.
But like you're saying, a spray dryer
Kalim.
or filtering, kalim is the primary concern, it sounds like.
That's probably, yes. Well,
Interesting.
then there's one more thing.
Okay.
Could be residue. So in the world of industrial manufacturing, cleanliness does not have the same connotation or the same that we think of cleanliness. When we talk about cleanliness, from a kashrus perspective,
It's a much higher standard.
much higher standard. Industrial cleaning. So, case in point, we have a company that makes protein bars. Now, they asked us that they have this request to produce a Cricut Powder protein bar. Now, Cricut Powder is becoming very popular as a protein. That's 100% treif, right? So they wanted to run the Cricut Powder protein bar, and after that, the Kosher protein bar. So we said, so there's no heat
But I
involved.
just have a cricket, you mean as the insect?
Yeah, that makes the noise at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They make
take
that
they
into-
dry it. Oh, it's a big item today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had a bakery in Las Vegas ask us about the Cricut Powder as well. They want to make products with Cricut Powder. Yeah, not for kosher, but on the same equipment, what we need to do. So here we had this company that was making protein bars. Now, and we went there to check the equipment, and it wasn't clean perfectly, right? And we said, no, you cannot produce here because this has to be perfectly clean. So let's stop for a second. So can you imagine you have a perfectly kosher protein bar in your hand, chocolate covered protein bar, 100% kosher, no chash whatsoever. I tell you, you know what? This was made in a factory where the previous product was with Cricut powder. And the machine wasn't cleaned so well. But don't worry about it. There's bittul, not bashishim. There's much more bittul, so don't worry about it. First of all, it's not appetizing. Second of all, it's not a way to give hashgacha. Giving hashgacha, a symbol of kashrus, means that this is okay 100%. No, we're not relying on bittul here. So we couldn't produce our kosher bar because they couldn't clean their equipment well. So we told them, either you're going to choose, either you're going to make Cricut powder bars or you're going to make kosher protein bars. So that's another thing with vegan. It would be vegan because the vegans are not going to be so much concerned about that little bit of, sometimes, yes, or not, you never know. But from kosher perspective, we're not going to rely on bittul.
That's very interesting. I'm listening to you talk about that. We don't really know what that sense is. I'm not a vegetarian. I imagine you're not either. What their sensitivities are. We have Baruch Hashem, we have a Shulchan Aruch. So we have our levels and standards are established based on a foundation of principles. By them, I guess it's more of a hergish. It's kind of like more of a feeling. So
it's both. It's an idealistic approach to life, like they want to live vegan and they don't want to hurt any living
species.
Species, right? So the gather is that it has to be vegan. So even if it's made on kalim that had previously produced animal products, that's okay as long as it's clean, or whatever is industrially accepted clean. If it's accepted as industrial clean, it's fine.
Any final thoughts on this topic that you think people would want to know about?
Final thoughts is as follows, that supplements is something that people need to take sometimes, and they shouldn't dismiss it. I mean, just because what they're seeing now, and I'm saying that there could be a chash with this, with that. If they have to keep on taking it, they should ask their Rav or Shaila if they could take it. They should speak to a kashrus professional, and together with the Rav, they can decide if they can take it or not, because it's very possible that there's no chash. We're just discussing the possibilities of what can happen here.
Right. So again, just because something is vegan, don't assume it's kosher. Just because something is plant-based, don't assume it's kosher. And obviously, just make sure that all these products, like we talk about on this program all the time, have a reliable kosher supervision. And
Correct.
Thanks for this wonderful conversation, and I look forward to speaking to you again.